The night sky above Geneva shattered into 1,000 points of light. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the roof of the United Earth Defense Command, her weathered face illuminated by the approaching alien vessels. 25 years of military service hadn't prepared her for this moment. No one could have been prepared. The Vraxians arrived without warning. Their massive ships, each the size of a small city, descended through Earth's atmosphere like obsidian daggers. They called themselves the Enlightened, and their message was simple. Earth was now under their protection and guidance. Protection, as humanity would soon learn, meant subjugation. Admiral, Lieutenant James Rodriguez's voice crackled through her earpiece. The Security Council is requesting your presence. The Vraxian ambassador is waiting. Sarah took one last look at the ships above. Their sleek black hulls seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, a testament to technology centuries beyond Earth's understanding. On my way, she replied, straightening her uniform. The meeting chamber was tense when she arrived. The Vraxian ambassador, a tall, silvery-skinned being named Kextar, stood before the assembled human leaders. His crystalline eyes regarded them with what Sarah could only describe as amused contempt. Your species shows promise. Kextar's words echoed through the chamber, translated by a device at his throat. But you are children playing with dangerous toys. Your nuclear weapons, your primitive space programs, they pose a risk to the greater galactic community. We will guide you, teach you, protect you from yourselves. Sarah watched as world leaders shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The Vraxians' patronizing tone made her blood boil, but she maintained her composure. They had already seen demonstrations of Vraxian technology, weapons that could vaporize entire military bases without leaving radiation, shields that made their ships virtually invulnerable to Earth's most advanced weapons. And if we refuse your protection? Sarah found herself asking, ignoring the warning glances from the politicians around her. Kextar's lipless mouth curved into what might have been a smile. Admiral Chen, isn't it? Your species' military database speaks highly of you. But surely you understand. This isn't a negotiation. We are here to elevate you, whether you desire it or not. The next 48 hours proved just how serious the Vraxians were. When several nations refused to submit to Vraxian authority, the response was swift and devastating. Major military installations worldwide went dark. Global communication networks collapsed. Power grids failed across entire continents. From her emergency command center deep beneath the Alps, Sarah watched as humanity's defenses crumbled. The best Earth could muster, stealth fighters, hypersonic missiles, even experimental energy weapons, might as well have been stones thrown against a fortress wall. Status report, she demanded, scanning the holographic displays showing what remained of Earth's military response. It's bad. Admiral, Colonel Maya Patel responded, her voice tight with exhaustion. We've lost contact with 80% of our forces. The Vraxians aren't even using their primary warships. These are just their peacekeeping vessels. Through the command center's secure feeds, Sarah watched as another Vraxian ship systematically disabled a squadron of Earth's most advanced fighters. The aliens weren't even bothering to destroy them, just swatting them from the sky like annoying insects. But something caught her attention. Replay that last engagement, she ordered. As the footage played again, she noticed it. A pattern in the Vraxian ship's movements. A moment of vulnerability just before it fired its main weapons. Send this to all remaining command centers, she ordered. There's a 3-second window when their weapons charge, if we time it right. But before she could finish, the mountain above them shook. Dust rained from the reinforced ceiling as Vraxian energy beams began cutting through the rock. They found us, Maya announced unnecessarily. All hands, initiate Protocol Omega. Wipe the databases, destroy the prototypes. Sarah's mind raced. They needed time. Time to understand the Vraxians' weaknesses, time to adapt. But that wouldn't happen in open warfare. Not when the technological gap was this wide. New orders, she announced, her voice carrying across the command center. All forces are to stand down. Initiate Operation Groundhog. Full retreat to underground facilities. We can't win this fight. Not today. As evacuation orders spread across what remained of human communications, Sarah made her way to the deepest level of the facility. There, behind blast doors and security screens, sat humanity's greatest secret, the Prometheus Lab, where Earth's brightest minds worked on reverse engineering alien technology. Dr. Elena Santos, the lab's lead researcher, was already overseeing the evacuation of critical equipment. They're not as invincible as they think, Elena said without preamble. Their tech, it's advanced, yes, but it's inefficient, like they never had to worry about resource constraints. Sarah helped her secure a container of research materials. Can you work with that? Find a weakness. Elena's eyes sparkled with determination. Give me time and resources. They think they're watching us die, but they're about to watch us evolve. As the facility's personnel retreated deeper underground, Sarah took one last look at the monitoring screens. Above them, Vraxian ships continued their methodical subjugation of Earth's surface. They were so certain of their superiority, so convinced of humanity's helplessness, that they didn't even bother to hunt down every last resistance fighter. That would be their first mistake, for while the Vraxians saw themselves as shepherds coming to guide a primitive species, they had fundamentally misunderstood something about humanity. When backed into a corner, humans don't just survive. They revolutionize. The fall of human civilization was beginning. But in underground bunkers and hidden laboratories across the globe, the seeds of humanity's greatest revolution were already taking root. 2 years passed beneath the Earth's scarred surface. What had begun as emergency bunkers evolved into sprawling underground cities, connected by networks of tunnels and secret passages. In the depths of the Prometheus Lab, now expanded to 10 times its original size, Dr. Elena Santos stood before a piece of salvaged Vraxian technology, a damaged power core that had been carelessly discarded by the aliens above. "Look at this, Admiral," Elena said as Sarah Chen entered the lab. The Admiral had aged during their time underground, but her eyes remained sharp as ever. Their power distribution system, it's absolutely ridiculous. Sarah approached the workbench, examining the alien device. Ridiculous how? They're burning through exponentially more energy than they need to, Elena explained, pulling up a holographic diagram. It's like using a fusion reactor to power a light bulb. They have so much energy at their disposal that they never bothered to make their systems efficient. The implications weren't lost on Sarah. And we've always had to be efficient. Exactly. Elena's fingers danced across her console, bringing up more diagrams. We've been studying their discarded tech for 2 years now. Every piece they throw away, we analyze. And we're not just learning how it works. We're learning how to make it work better. Around them, the underground lab hummed with activity. Teams of engineers and scientists worked on various pieces of salvaged technology. What had started as desperate scavenging had evolved into something more: systematic research and development. 2 years passed beneath the Earth's scarred surface. What had begun as emergency bunkers evolved into sprawling underground cities, connected by networks of tunnels and secret passages. In the depths of the Prometheus Lab, now expanded to 10 times its original size, Dr. Elena Santos stood before a piece of salvaged Vraxian technology, a damaged power core that had been carelessly discarded by the aliens above. "Look at this, Admiral," Elena said as Sarah Chen entered the lab. The Admiral had aged during their time underground, but her eyes remained sharp as ever. Their power distribution system, it's absolutely ridiculous. Sarah approached the workbench, examining the alien device. Ridiculous how? They're burning through exponentially more energy than they need to, Elena explained, pulling up a holographic diagram. It's like using a fusion reactor to power a light bulb. They have so much energy at their disposal that they never bothered to make their systems efficient. The implications weren't lost on Sarah. And we've always had to be efficient. Exactly. Elena's fingers danced across her console, bringing up more diagrams. "We've been studying their discarded tech for 2 years now. Every piece they throw away, we analyze. And we're not just learning how it works. We're learning how to make it work better." Around them, the underground lab hummed with activity. Teams of engineers and scientists worked on various pieces of salvage technology. What had started as desperate scavenging had evolved into something more: systematic research and development. "Show me what you've accomplished," Sarah said, following Elena deeper into the facility. They passed through several security checkpoints before reaching a massive testing chamber. Inside, a hybrid engine sat on a testing platform. It looked nothing like the sleek Vraxian technology above. It was an amalgamation of human engineering and alien tech, ugly but functional. "This is Project Phoenix," Elena announced proudly. "We've taken their power core design and completely reimagined it. Where they'd brute force their way through energy requirements, we've created something elegant, more efficient, more adaptable." The engine hummed to life. On the monitoring screens, energy readings spiked, but in a controlled, precise pattern. "It's producing more power than their original design," Elena continued, "using less than a quarter of the resources." Sarah studied the readings carefully. "Can we scale this up?" "We already are." Elena led her through another set of doors to a massive underground hangar. There, taking shape in the artificial light, was the framework of what could only be a spacecraft. "This is just the prototype. We have teams around the world working on different aspects of the technology. Moscow is cracking their shield systems, Beijing is revolutionizing their weapons tech, and London's making breakthroughs in stealth systems." The global network of resistance bunkers had transformed into an interconnected web of innovation centers. Every discovery was shared, every breakthrough built upon. But what impressed Sarah most was how they weren't just copying Vraxian technology. They were transforming it. "The Vraxians' biggest weakness," Elena explained, walking around the prototype ship, "is their lack of innovation. They've been the dominant species for so long that they've stopped evolving. Their technology hasn't fundamentally changed in centuries. But us," she smiled, "we're taking their cast-offs and creating something they've never seen before." A young engineer rushed up to them, tablet in hand. "Dr. Santos, the adaptive shielding test was successful. The system isn't just blocking energy weapons, it's learning from each hit, becoming stronger." This was humanity's secret weapon, not just the technology they were developing, but their ability to adapt it, improve it, make it their own. The Vraxians had given them the building blocks, never imagining that these primitives could transform them into something new. "How long?" Sarah asked, looking at the prototype ship. "How long until we can begin full-scale production?" Elena consulted her data. "The prototype will be ready for testing in 6 months. Once we confirm it works, we can begin mass production in the hidden facilities around the world." "But Sarah," she paused, making sure she had the Admiral's full attention. "We're not just building ships. We're creating a whole new type of technology. Every system we develop learns and adapts. These ships won't just be vessels. They'll be evolving weapons." Sarah nodded slowly, understanding the implications. Above them, through layers of rock and soil, the Vraxians continued their patrols, harvesting Earth's resources and looking for any sign of organized resistance. They still saw humans as primitive beings, barely worth monitoring. Their sensors swept the planet's surface regularly, but they never thought to look deep enough, never imagined that their discarded scraps could be transformed into something revolutionary. "Keep this absolutely quiet," Sarah ordered. "The Vraxians' arrogance is our greatest advantage right now. Let them think we're still hiding in holes, scavenging for survival. Meanwhile," she gestured to the prototype ship, "we'll build their worst nightmare." As they walked back through the facility, they passed training rooms where pilots practiced on simulators designed to mimic their hybrid technology. Each pilot was chosen not just for their skills, but for their ability to think creatively, to use the technology in ways the Vraxians would never expect. 2 years ago, They thought they were watching humanity fall. Sarah mused, watching the pilots train. Instead, they're watching us rise from our own ashes. And they don't even know it. Elena smiled, her eyes on the prototype ship. The Phoenix rises from the flames, she said softly. And this time, we're bringing our own fire. In underground facilities around the world, humanity continued its secret evolution. Every piece of discarded Vraxian technology became a seed of revolution. Every arrogant assumption by their oppressors created another blind spot to exploit. The day would come when the Vraxians would learn the cost of underestimating human ingenuity. But for now, the work continued in silence, deep beneath the Earth's scarred surface. 5 years into Earth's occupation, the underground city of New Geneva pulsed with hidden power. Deep within its reinforced walls, Admiral Sarah Chen watched as the first squadron of hybrid fighters completed their test run in the massive subterranean flight chamber. The ships moved with impossible grace, their adaptive engines humming with an energy signature that would confuse Vraxian sensors. "They're getting better," Elena observed, her eyes tracking the lead fighter's maneuvers. The ships no longer looked like crude combinations of human and Vraxian technology. They had evolved into something entirely new, sleek, deadly, and unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. "Status report," Sarah called out to the control room. The underground chamber, once a natural cave system, now housed humanity's growing fleet. All 12 ships showing green. "Admiral," the flight controller responded. "Adaptive systems are functioning at 120% of projected capacity. The neural interfaces are learning faster than we anticipated." That was the key to their new technology. It learned. Every system they had developed from Vraxian cast-offs had been redesigned to adapt and evolve. The ships didn't just fly. They learned from every maneuver. The weapons didn't just fire. They analyzed and improved with each shot. A young engineer approached them, tablet in hand. "Dr. Santos, the latest modifications to the quantum shield matrix are ready for testing. Beijing thinks they found a way to make the shields propagate their adaptive algorithms across the entire fleet simultaneously." Elena's eyes lit up. "Show me." The demonstration took place in the weapons testing chamber. A prototype shield generator, smaller than its Vraxian counterpart, but far more sophisticated, activated around a test vessel. Energy weapons, reverse-engineered from Vraxian technology, fired at the shield. "Watch this," Elena said to Sarah. "The shield isn't just blocking the attacks. It's learning from them. And it's sharing what it learns with every other shield in the network." The implications were staggering. In battle, their entire fleet would adapt as a single organism, each ship learning from the experiences of all others in real time. "How many ships do we have now?" Sarah asked, walking through the underground hangar where dozens of vessels were under construction. "Globally, 327, Elena replied. "All equipped with adaptive tech, all capable of operations that would make Vraxian pilots dizzy. But here's the best part. They still can't detect us." They moved to the surveillance center, where monitors showed the surface world. Vraxian patrols continued their regular sweeps, their massive ships casting shadows over the ruins of human cities. But their sensors, searching for signs of resistance, found nothing but scattered heat signatures from the few surface dwellers they allowed to remain. "Their own arrogance blinds them," Sarah mused. "They're so convinced of their superiority that they don't even consider the possibility of us surpassing them." An alert flashed on one of the monitors. A Vraxian salvage team had descended to collect debris from one of their damaged ships. They barely gave the wreckage a cursory scan before declaring it worthless and moving on. "More gifts," Elena smiled. "Every piece of technology they discard gives us new insights. We've learned more from their garbage than they have from centuries of development." In the training centers, pilots ran increasingly complex simulations. The programs were designed not just to teach them how to fly the new ships, but how to think in ways the Vraxians couldn't predict. Traditional combat maneuvers were discarded in favor of adaptive strategies that evolved during each engagement. "Show me the latest combat sim results," Sarah requested. The holographic display came to life, showing a simulated battle between their hybrid ships and Vraxian vessels. The human ships moved like water, flowing around Vraxian attacks while their adaptive weapons found weaknesses in the aliens' supposedly impenetrable defenses. The Vraxians rely on overwhelming force, Elena explained. Their ships are powerful but predictable. Our pilots are learning to use that against them. Every time they think they have us figured out, our systems adapt and change tactics. A message came through from the Moscow facility. They had successfully tested a new form of quantum communication that the Vraxians couldn't detect or intercept. Another from Sydney reported breakthroughs in stealth technology that bent light and energy around their ships in ways that defied conventional physics. "We're almost ready," Sarah said, watching as another squadron of fighters completed their training run. "But we need to be certain. We only get one chance to surprise them." Elena nodded, pulling up data from their global network of resistance bases. Every facility reports the same thing. Our technology isn't just matching theirs anymore. We're surpassing them. Their greatest weakness turned out to be their strength. They never had to innovate, never had to adapt. They became stagnant. In the deepest part of the facility, they visited the prototype of their newest vessel, the Phoenix-class command ship. Larger than their other ships but still smaller than Vraxian vessels, it represented the pinnacle of their hybrid technology. Every system had been refined and improved through years of secret development. The Vraxians think they're watching a broken species slowly fade away, Sarah said, running her hand along the ship's hull. They don't realize they're watching us evolve into something beyond their comprehension. As if to emphasize her point, a squad of maintenance drones, themselves products of hybrid technology, moved around the ship, their adaptive AI systems coordinating repairs and improvements without human input. The entire resistance had become a lesson in evolution, every piece of technology learning and growing stronger. Surface teams report increased Vraxian activity in Sector 7, a controller announced. They're stripping another city. Sarah and Elena watched the feeds. The massive alien ships descended from the clouds, their harvest beams cutting through abandoned buildings. They were so focused on gathering resources, they never thought to look below the ruins. "Let them take what they want from the surface," Elena said quietly. "Everything that matters is down here. And when we're ready," Sarah finished, "they'll learn what humanity can do with a little time and motivation." The day's training concluded, ships sliding silently back into their berths. Another successful series of missions, another step closer to their goal. In facilities around the world, humanity's hidden fleet grew stronger, smarter, more capable. The Vraxians thought they were watching a defeated species slowly fade away. Instead, they were watching the greatest comeback in human history, built from their own discarded scraps. And they wouldn't realize their mistake until it was too late. The warning came at dawn. Deep in the heart of New Geneva's command center, sensors detected multiple Vraxian ships dropping out of hyperspace, not the usual patrol or harvester vessels, but warships. The largest fleet humanity had seen since the initial invasion 7 years ago. Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the global command display, her expression calm as red dots appeared across the screen. Around her, controllers maintained absolute discipline, their years of training evident in their steady movements. "Count," she asked quietly. 117 vessels, Admiral," the sensor officer reported. "Multiple classes. They'd brought their newest ships." Elena rushed into the command center, her tablet displaying real-time analysis of the incoming vessels. "They've upgraded their weapons, improved their shields. They must have noticed some of their technology going missing. Or they're just being thorough," Sarah replied. She pressed a button on her command console, activating the global alert system. In underground facilities around the world, humanity's hidden fleet prepared for battle. The Vraxian ships moved into formation above Earth's major cities, or what remained of them. Their previous harvesting missions had left most surface structures in ruins. a transmission broadcast on all frequencies, the first direct communication from the Vraxians in over a year. Primitive species, the message began, Kextar's familiar condescending tone unchanged after 7 years. Our sensors detect attempts to salvage and utilize our discarded technology. This is unacceptable. Your resistance will be eliminated. Elena couldn't help but smile. They still think we're just scavenging their leftovers. They have no idea what we've built. All facilities report ready, the communications officer announced. Fleet commanders await your orders, sir. Sarah took a deep breath. 7 years of preparation had led to this moment. Initiate Operation Rising Phoenix. All ships launch on my mark. Around the world, hidden bay doors opened in the ruins of old cities, beneath abandoned buildings, and inside mountain caves. Humanity's secret weapon waited. 350 ships, each one a perfect fusion of human ingenuity and transformed Vraxian technology. Remember, Sarah broadcast to all pilots. They don't know what we can do. Use that surprise. Fight smart, not just hard. Elena monitored the adaptive drive readings across the fleet. All drives showing green. Mirror systems active and synchronized. They still can't see us. Sarah gave the order. Launch. Across the globe, human ships rose from their hidden bases. The adaptive drives hummed silently, making them invisible to both eyes and sensors. They took position around the Vraxian fleet, who continued their threatening broadcast, completely unaware they were now surrounded. All ships in position, the tactical officer reported, waiting for your command. Sarah looked at Elena, who nodded. This was the moment that would decide humanity's future. Disable mirror systems. Let them see what they're really facing. 350 ships suddenly appeared around the Vraxian fleet, their hybrid weapons charged and ready. The alien broadcast cut off mid-sentence. For several seconds, there was complete silence. They're scanning us, Elena reported, watching the data flow across her screen. Their sensors can't make sense of what they're seeing. The adaptive drives don't match anything in their database. The Vraxians recovered quickly, their ships moving to attack formation. Their first volley of energy weapons launched at the human fleet and passed harmlessly through the spaces where the ships had been. The human pilots put their years of training to use, the adaptive drives letting their ships move in ways the Vraxians had never seen. Their flagship is trying to coordinate their fleet. Elena called out, but our ships are moving too unpredictably. They can't establish a firing pattern. Sarah watched as humanity's fleet executed maneuvers that should have been impossible. Ships spiraled through enemy fire, their adaptive drives learning and improving with each evasion. The hybrid weapons, built from salvaged Vraxian technology, but refined and improved, struck with devastating accuracy. Multiple Vraxian ships disabled, the tactical officer reported. They're falling back to secondary positions. The Vraxians tried to regroup, to adapt to human tactics, but that was humanity's greatest strength now. Adaptation. Each time the Vraxians thought they had figured out how to counter the human ships, the adaptive drives would shift, change, evolve into something new. Their shields are failing, Elena announced. They never imagined their own technology could be used like this. Every time they scan us, every time they try to predict our movements, the drives learn more about how to counter them. A desperate transmission came from the Vraxian flagship. What are you? These systems. This is not possible. Sarah opened a channel to respond. We're humanity. You left us for dead, surrounded by what you thought was junk. Big mistake. The battle continued above Earth's scarred surface. Vraxian ships, for all their size and power, found themselves unable to cope with the smaller, more agile human vessels. Their energy weapons, designed for raw power, were outmaneuvered by humanity's precise, efficient hybrid systems. Their fleet is breaking apart, the tactical officer reported. 60% of their ships disabled or destroyed. The rest are falling back. Elena's screen showed the effectiveness of their reverse-engineered technology. The adaptive drives are performing beyond our highest expectations. Each ship is fighting better than the last, learning from every engagement. The Vraxian fleet retreated in chaos, their formation shattered. Ships that had arrived in perfect order now fled in disarray, their commanders unable to comprehend how their supposedly primitive opponents had achieved such mastery over their own technology. "Should we pursue?" the tactical officer asked. Sarah shook her head. "Let them go. Let them tell others what happened here. Humanity isn't helpless anymore." As the Vraxian ships disappeared into hyperspace, cheers erupted in command centers around the world. 7 years of hiding, learning, and preparing had paid off. Humanity had not just survived, they had evolved. "Damage report," Sarah called out, bringing focus back to the moment. "Minimal losses," came the response. 8 ships damaged, no complete losses. The adaptive drives protected us better than we expected. Elena was already analyzing the battle data. The drives learned more in this one engagement than in all our years of testing. "Next time, we'll be even stronger." Sarah looked at the display screen, now showing only the triumphant human fleet in orbit around their homeworld. "Send word to all surface teams. Begin Phase 2 of the Rising Phoenix Protocol. It's time to rebuild what's above ground, not just what's below." 1 year after humanity's victory over the Vraxian fleet, Earth had transformed. The ruins of old cities gave way to new structures that seamlessly blended human architecture with advanced technology. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the window of the newly constructed Earth Defense Command, watching as construction drones guided by adaptive AI systems rebuilt the world below. "Another ship detected entering the system," reported the young officer at the scanning station, but there was no alarm in his voice. The adaptive drive systems now gave them plenty of warning about any approaching vessels. "Diplomatic registry," Elena added, walking onto the command deck. "5th one this week." She couldn't hide her smile. After their victory over the Vraxians, word had spread quickly through the galaxy. Earth was no longer seen as a primitive backwater, but as something entirely new. The alien ship that descended through the atmosphere wasn't Vraxian. It was sleeker, more elegant, belonging to a species that called themselves the Meridians. They had come seeking trade, specifically interested in humanity's innovations. "The Meridian ambassador is requesting permission to tour our research facilities," the communications officer announced. Sarah nodded. "Grant them access to the approved areas. Dr. Santos, would you escort them?" As Elena prepared to meet the visitors, she reflected on how much had changed. The underground facilities that had once been humanity's hiding places were now centers of innovation, producing technologies that surpassed anything the Vraxians had ever achieved. "They're particularly interested in our adaptive drive technology," Elena told Sarah as they walked through the gleaming corridors of the command center. "Apparently, the concept of technology that learns and evolves is revolutionary to most galactic species. Most species never had to evolve past their initial achievements," Sarah replied. "They never had the motivation we did." In the main research hub, formerly the Prometheus Lab, teams of human scientists worked alongside alien researchers. The fall of the Vraxians had opened up new possibilities for galactic cooperation, with Earth becoming a nexus of technological innovation. The latest improvements to the adaptive shields are ready for testing, a young engineer reported, approaching them with a holographic display. "We've managed to increase efficiency by another 300% by incorporating principles from Meridian quantum mechanics." This was humanity's new strength, not just developing technology, but combining ideas from different sources in ways no one had considered before. The adaptive systems that had won them their freedom now formed the basis of a whole new field of technological development. Through the command center's windows, they could see ships taking off and landing at the new spaceport. Some were Earth vessels, their designs evolving with each new iteration. Others belonged to various alien species, coming to trade, learn, and collaborate. "Report from the Vraxian border," an officer called out. "Their fleet movements suggest they're still maintaining their distance." The Vraxians hadn't attempted another invasion. Their defeat had shattered not just their military might, but their entire worldview. The species they had dismissed as primitive had transformed their own discarded technology into something they couldn't comprehend. "They're still trying to understand how we did it," Elena mused, reviewing the latest intelligence reports. Their scientists have been studying the wreckage from the battle, but they can't grasp the fundamental concept of adaptive technology. They're too set in their ways of thinking. A group of alien diplomats passed through the command center, led by Earth representatives. Where once humanity had been seen as barely worth notice, now they were sought after as teachers and innovators. The very qualities that the Vraxians had dismissed, humanity's drive to adapt and improve, had become their greatest export. The Jakarta facility reports success with the new hybrid propulsion system, another officer announced. They've managed to combine adaptive drive technology with Centaurian fold space principles. Early tests show FTL speeds previously thought impossible. This was the pattern now. Every breakthrough led to 3 more, each innovation spawning new possibilities. Humanity hadn't just caught up to the galaxy's technological level. They were pushing it forward, forcing other species to evolve or be left behind. Sarah moved to the strategic planning room, where a holographic display showed Earth's growing influence in the galaxy. Trade routes, diplomatic connections, and technological exchanges formed a web with Earth at its center. "The Vraxians did us a favor," she said to Elena. "They gave us exactly what we needed: motivation and raw materials. Everything else came from human ingenuity." Elena nodded, watching as another diplomatic vessel entered Earth's atmosphere. They thought they were uplifting a primitive species, but they actually unleashed humanity's greatest strength: our ability to adapt, to take what exists and make it better. In the testing chambers below, new prototypes of ships and weapons took shape, each generation more advanced than the last. But unlike the Vraxians, humans never became complacent. The adaptive technology they had developed ensured that stagnation was impossible. Every system was constantly learning, evolving, improving. "Message from the Council," an aide announced, approaching them with a tablet. "They've approved the expansion of the Innovation Exchange Program. 10 more species have applied to send their scientists to study here." This was humanity's real victory, not just surviving the Vraxians, but emerging stronger, wiser, and more capable than ever before. They had taken their place among the stars not through conquest or dominance, but through innovation and adaptation. 7 years ago, they thought they were watching humanity fall, Sarah mused, looking out at the rebuilt city. Instead, they witnessed our evolution into something they never imagined possible. As the sun set over the new Earth, ships continued to arrive and depart, each one carrying evidence of humanity's transformation. From a species on the brink of extinction, they had evolved into teachers and innovators, showing the galaxy new ways to think, to build, to grow. The Vraxians had meant to subjugate humanity. Instead, they had catalyzed humanity's greatest achievement: the development of technology that could learn and evolve. In trying to hold humanity down, they had given them the tools to soar beyond anyone's expectations. And as new challenges emerged in the vast expanse of space, humanity faced them with confidence, knowing that their greatest strength wasn't in their weapons or their ships, but in their undying ability to adapt, to learn, and to rise from the ashes stronger than before.